Good morning, Brownsville. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're watching this feed. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Frankie Olivo. Our program focuses on the very important issues that are affecting our local community. We have shed light on injustices, and we have allowed for our platform, this mic, to be that of the voice of the people. Now, if this is something that you can see yourself supporting, we ask that you like, comment, and share this live feed. Now, as of late, our Facebook page is at risk of being taken down. The powers that be do not want you, the voter, the constituent, to know the truth. But remember, fam, we will not be silenced. If you're really about the cause and you want to stand up to corruption and you want to hold our elected leaders accountable, well, make sure you subscribe to our social media platforms. You can subscribe to both Frankie Olivo page on Facebook, and also you can subscribe to our YouTube page titled Frankie Olivo TV. Remember, Good Morning Brownsville will come on Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. religiously. So make sure you subscribe to our Frankie Olivo TV page on YouTube to tune in. And as always, thank you so much, Brownsville, for your time and your attention. It really means the world to me. Thank you so much for being here. How we doing, chat? How we doing? Happy Friday. We managed to survive another week. This week has been very interesting. A lot of information. We're getting closer to the day in which the school board will meet for a special call board session meeting on Tuesday, in which they will interview several potential nominees to replace Erasmo Castro's vacant seat on that school board. What has interesting that what we have learned from all this, ladies and gentlemen, has been that this has been manipulated from the get-go. The way I found out, and I'm going to give you a quick synopsis of how I found out of everything. I learned of the backroom deal that happened between Daniel Lopez Valdez and Carlos Elizondo through the city elections, the city of Brownsville elections. I was fed certain information right before early voting, and they said, we have this information. If you can confirm, if you could create a diagram, we'll give you the stuff. So I did my investigating. I asked questions. I contacted my sources, and sure enough, everything came to play. What we learned was that the school board never had intentions of going out for an election. It was rigged from the very beginning. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking about a qualified individual that was nominated, that was supposed to be placed on the agenda for the vacant BISD school board seat. While people have called Good Morning Brownsville and your humble servant a liar, they've made fun of our show and our program, and they stated that we do not know what we're talking about. Time has been on our side and has shown that everything that we've been saying from the get-go is slowly coming into fruition. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to stick around to the very end of the episode, because it's going to get very, very interesting. When I say that Good Morning Brownsville brings you bangers, this is another one. Whenever we say that Good Morning Brownsville brings you receipts, we have receipts. That is the way we operate, ladies and gentlemen. Best believe if we post something, if we talk about something, it's because we have it in our hands. That is my job before you. My job is to tell you about the backroom deals that the politicos do not want you to know. This program isn't designed for the politician. No, this program is designed for the 99% of us that aren't part of those circles, that aren't in those meetings, that aren't making these quid pro quos. I hope you appreciate what we do, because we are giving you, the voter, insight, detail, very detailed information in regards to the plans, the mindsets of these politicos. while they tell you in your face that they are all about the citizens of Brownsville, we have shown and we hope to have proven to you that it's always, always about them. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking about Carlos Elizondo's nominee for the vacant BISD spot. This individual will be getting a very special show on Monday. I was talking with my production team, and they said, "You know what? You have to drop it, Frankie. You have to tell the people who this person is." So today we're going to give you a little bit of snippet and keep you wanting more and more for this weekend, because on Monday we will drop the show. This folder that I was given a few weeks ago, it's pretty thick. I don't know if you can see it. This folder contains very damning information in regards to that certain individual. We've been holding out because we want to see the direction in which it's going. But ultimately, I'm a team player. And my team said, it's time for you to drop that. I said, okay. When do you want me to do it, team? They said Monday. Very well. So today, ladies and gentlemen, sit back and enjoy the show, because I'm going to give you a little bit of snippet into what's been going on this whole time, while all those individuals were ridiculing us, were making fun of us, were saying, "Oh, you look like a crazy madman with this diagram, and you've lost your mind." No, we've been saying the truth this whole time. While they've been trying to discredit us, while they've been trying to make fun of us, deep down inside, they know, but they don't want you to know. And that's my job, ladies and gentlemen. My job is to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly of what the politicos don't want you to know. So I hope you enjoy today's program, and I hope you stick around for Mondays, because Monday's going to be very good. Today, ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I know you will. Going along with our program, we're talking about PUB. Again, recap. I'm going to tell you now, reveal the final players of PUB that Gustavo de Leon appointed, that Pedro Cárdenas appointed. Pedro Cárdenas appointed someone from Monarca, Baja Kitchen. Gustavo de Leon appointed someone from PUB to PUB, and the movida is that they will put that man at the ISD now. Again, PUB. Now, before, I want you to focus on these interesting characters. I happen to know some of them. What is the common denominator between these two people? Here we have Gustavo de Leon on the left with a cap, or white cap. And then we have Mr. Pedro Cárdenas in white. Who are they with, ladies and gentlemen? Well, the moment of truth. The individuals that are behind this web of corruption, the individuals that are hiding in the background. Ladies and gentlemen, it's sad for me to report that the individual that was going to, plural, because after this, they're going to get scared and they're not even going to entertain the idea, is none other than Mr. Martin Sarkis, a PUB board member. And the movida was that they were going to place him on PUB. I'm busy doing a show, man. Yo sí tengo huevos. I'm calling them out to their names, to their faces. Unlike you, who are protecting them. Yo sí tengo los pantalones bien puestos. Yo sí tiro fregazos. I'm calling them out. Let's see what they say. Invite them on my show. As I was saying, Martin Sarkis was appointed by Gustavo de Leon. The move is that he will fill the seat of Erasmo Castro on the BISD board. Because again, these individuals, they want power. They want their hands in every entity out there. We have the city of Brownsville with a budget of $130 million. The biggest monster, the biggest juggernaut out there is BISD. They just approved their annual budget of 530 some, 130 some. We'll call it 500 even flat, just for the sake of a number. These individuals, they want everything and more. Again, too much money ain't enough money. You know the Fed's listening. About to what money? Ladies and gentlemen, that was an episode when we first started talking about the web of corruption. This was in late May. And back then, according to my sources, that this was going on behind closed doors. Whenever we say that the BISD school board, which told the public, oh, please apply, we need nominations and we want to see who's interested and things like that, that was a farce. My sources, that same team, those people that contacted me in regards to the Perito Cárdenas, Gustavo de Leon, Roy de los Santos web of corruption, they told me, Frankie, this goes back late March, early April, that they were scheming this. How would I know of all these players in the web of corruption? They wouldn't tell me. Carlos Elizondo won't say anything. Pedrito won't tell me. Gustavo won't tell me anything. So here we have a school board that in mid-February, Erasmo Castro passed away. And once he passed away, the school board knew that they were on the clock. Why? Because 180 days is a key factor. If in 180 days, a consensus isn't made, if a nominee isn't approved of, nominated, the state will come in. So back in May, mid to late May, we were already talking about this, that this was the play all along for Martin Sarkis to fill in for Erasmo Castro's seat. We were laughed at. We were ridiculed. We were said that we're crazy, that we don't know what we're talking about. It's interesting, ladies and gentlemen. It's interesting because to the public, they said, you know what? Oh no, we don't want an election because an election, we're in March, the election's in May. You know, that's not enough time. We want the candidate to run a full campaign. Again, this is a democracy. The will of the people should be that of they elect whoever they want. You see where I'm getting at, ladies and gentlemen? That even though that they told the community, oh, apply. We want people to apply. And oh, we're considering an election. For heaven's sakes, we still have Frank Ortiz in executive session this past Tuesday, the last board meeting, still asking for an election. When the elections department went in person and spoke with the attorneys, spoke with the board members and said, hey, you're on a time crunch. The elections could only be done in May. But it was never the idea for BISD to go out for an election. It was never the idea. Why? Because two things. Carlos Elizondo wants three things. Well, he wants two things. And he's going to stick to his guns no matter what. He wants either Farley Treviño or Martin Sarkis to be the nominee. He is part of their group. They are part of the group. They will do as Carlos says. They will make Carlos the board president. They will fire the superintendent. They're going to place all their people in there. And if not, hey, have TEA come in. We'll roll our chances. If you didn't see the episode on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, Tuesday, Wednesday, where we talk about what the school district would look like. If you haven't checked it out, please do so. Because we talk about how the likes of Houston ISD and La Jolla, how they themselves have seen what the having a takeover is all about, and it's not pretty. It's really not. To all the school board unions, you don't want this to happen. Why? Because we showed on the show when we talked about what would the school district look like, that teachers are getting fired at a rapid pace. They're opening up the books. They're cutting losses like crazy. They're closing schools. They're consolidating schools. Their objective is to save money. That's it. No personal feelings. No, it's a business to them. And this is what Carlos Elizondo wants. He's like, we haven't heard from AOBE. I have seen TVEA. I have seen Best at the board meetings. I haven't heard AOBE speak. Are they okay with TEA coming in and cutting nurses, counselors, paraprofessionals, cutting teachers like crazy? Are they okay with that? Are they okay with consolidating schools? We talked about how last year around this time, people were upset that Cromac, Del Castillo, there's another school that doesn't come to mind. There was a big fuss about how are we going to close these schools? The kids and the memories and the traditions. Well, that's what TA is going to do eventually. Are you okay with that? To the teachers listening in, are you okay with you being on the chopping block? Possibly? Because the contracts, correct me if I'm wrong, are year to year, and they'll get rid of people quick. That is what we've seen at Houston. And Houston, they're going to stay on till 2027 if need be. They can extend even more. So imagine the school board members are wiped out. The super is wiped out. The CFO is wiped out. The Glass Palace is wiped out. The assistant superintendent's wiped out. Teachers are going to get fired. Nurses, counselors. They're all going to get rid of them. Again, AOBE, I haven't heard from you. You're one of the biggest unions, if I'm not mistaken. That's very, very alarming. And again, ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking about this for the longest time. Look at this. This is from our show on May 26th. We went live. The video that I just showed you to start the program. We talked about this web of corruption. We talked about how Gustavo de Leon was going to be appointing Martin Sarkis. And that Martin Sarkis was also going to be the nominee for BISD. This has been the arrangement from the get-go, ladies and gentlemen. From the get-go. This whole thing about apply, it's been a farce from the beginning. Your board members were wheeling and dealing behind closed doors. And again, if you don't believe me, go to YouTube, because after 30 days, the lives, they disappear. But if you don't believe me, go on YouTube under Frankie Olivo TV on the May 26th episode titled, "Oh, Brownsville, what a tangled web we weave." Listen to it. We talk about Martin being the nominee for BISD back then. And according to my sources, they said that they got the information in late March, early April. That's been the thing all along. And look to the right-hand side. Zoom in, please. Look what he says. He commented on the show and he called me a liar. Frankie, if you have proof that I am corrupt, and show me your proof, and we'll be doing that on Monday. He wants us to show the community proof. We will show the community proof of why he is not worthy of even being considered for for PUB, much less BISD. Look what he says here on that video live. He says, I decline the BISD offer. Your information is wrong, Olivo. Quit lying to the community. So again, he's saying that I'm lying back then. What have we learned since then? What have we learned, ladies and gentlemen? And again, everything that we've been saying has been coming true. This is a web of corruption. We did talk about these players in detail. And we were criticized. We were ridiculed. People were saying, Frankie does not know what he's talking about. But the politicos knew. They just didn't want to say anything. Because they were like, damn, how does this guy know this stuff? But again, my information comes from the very, very top. Because I didn't even know about BISD. I was covering the city of Brownsville and their web of corruption. And it's all intertwined, ladies and gentlemen. All these different organizations at the city, at the college, at the port, at the school district, at the county. It's all intertwined. How would I know about this stuff in mid to late May? Because of my sources. And my sources knew way back then. So time, ladies and gentlemen, time has been on our side. Gamboa, Carlos makes Sylvia Atkinson look like a Girl Scout. Like a Girl Scout. Ladies and gentlemen, you thought that we had it bad with Sylvia Atkinson? Nope. Carlos is worse. So again, I don't want you to think, oh, Frankie se está subiendo los humos y se cree mucho porque lo que estaba diciendo sí es verdad. Tiene razón, pero se cree mucho. No, I do not take credit for this. Again, I am a humble person who just want what you and I want. A better Brownsville. To have our elected leaders accountable for them to do what's in our best interest, not theirs. That's what I want. That's what we should all want. Again, we're taxpayers. Ultimately, they should respond to us. We're their boss. But it seems as if it's the other way around. And again, we've been laughed at. We've been ridiculed. But what do we have? We have receipts, ladies and gentlemen. Best believe we have receipts. Today, I have in front of you a board agenda request that was made by Carlos Elizondo. This is an email that it was sent on Friday, May 30th, 2025. Look at the date and time. May 30th, 2025 at 2:30 p.m. This email was sent to Daniela Lopez Valdez, the board president, and Patricia Perez, the school board secretary. Look what it says, ladies and gentlemen, back then. How many days? 4 days after we reported this, where I was called a liar and that I'm an idiot. I don't know what I'm talking about. 4 days after we came on live, Carlos Elizondo sends this request for an agenda item, and it reads the following. Please place on the next agenda item, presentation, discussion, and possible action to appoint Martin Sarkis to the BISD Board of Trustees, Place 7. Background. Due to the vacancy in BISD Trustee Place 7, the board will consider the appointment of a qualified individual. Keyword, qualified individual. To fulfill the responsibilities of this position in accordance with board policy and Texas Education Code. Mr. Martin Sarkis, look what he says. Mr. Martin Sarkis has expressed interests. Mr. Martin Sarkis has expressed interest. Okay. And meets all eligibility requirements to serve. Requested action. Recommend appointment of Martin Sarkis to serve as a trustee for Place 7 on the BISD Board of Trustees, effective immediately upon board approval. Ladies and gentlemen, don't you see what we're dealing with? Everything that we've been saying has been true. I told you that I have proof. I just needed time. I needed your patience. No, I don't want to get appointed. I want to get elected by my community. But the interesting thing about this is that this was their plan from the get-go. Now, again, what happened? And it's crazy how life works, ladies and gentlemen. It's so crazy. Again, let me show you. I told you the key factors that you need to remember are, can you see that? Let me zoom in. The key factors that I want you to remember is the date. Look at the date and time in which this was sent. Look at this. On Friday, May 30th, 2025 at 2:30 p.m. You got that? Why is the date significant? Well, please remember, Friday, May 30th, 2025 at 2:30 p.m. What happened, ladies and gentlemen? What happened on that day? Well, the individual that was nominated by Carlos Elizondo, and he got a second. Because again, whenever you place things on the agenda, you have to have a second, somebody supporting your request. If not, he wouldn't have sent that. So again, the date was May 30th, 2025 at 2:30 p.m. Guess what happened at Valley Baptist in downtown Brownsville? That nominee, that person that Carlos Elizondo wanted, that qualified individual that Carlos wanted to place on the agenda. Well, what if I told you that individual was at Valley Baptist in downtown Brownsville? And what happened at Valley Baptist downtown Brownsville? Well, we reported on it. And again, look at the date. This is what we posted. And look at the date, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to zoom in real quick and I'm going to read it. Look at the date. Look what we posted. Look at the date. You see the date on top? Where is it? Look at the date. May 30th at 5:30 p.m. 3 hours. 3 hours after that email was sent by Carlos Elizondo. Look what we posted. Look what our sources told us. On that same day, ladies and gentlemen, we posted Martin Sarkis, a PUB board member, owes a family member thousands of dollars that was stolen from him, $75,000 to be exact. What happened? A fist fight between the men occurred inside a hospital room. Inside Valley Baptist. As they were visiting an ailing family member. Martin Sarkis' face was busted open and he is currently in the emergency room and getting stitches after the fist fight. We go on to say, police report will be provided once it's become available. Do you see what happened? Carlos Elizondo on Friday, May the 30th, sent an email at 2:30 p.m. requesting, and he got a second. Minero Peña, he got a second to place on the agenda Martin Sarkis to be nominated, to vote on it. And 3 hours later, unbeknownst to us, ay, pues a pinche big word, unbeknownst. Unbeknownst to us, information comes in and says, Frankie, you need to go to Valley Baptist. And I was like, why do I need to go to Valley Baptist? Oh, Martin Sarkis just got into a fight. Say, what? Oh, yeah, he's in the emergency room right now. He got his face busted open. What? On that same day? What are the odds? 3 hours later, they want me to go to Valley Baptist and take pictures of him. I'm like, you're joking, right? They're like, I don't call you because I'm joking, Frankie. Get your butt over there. I'm like, okay. So what happened? That startled people because they saw what Frankie Olivo and Good Morning Brownsville posted on that same day. And they said, oh, maybe this isn't a good idea after all. But again, let's take a look at the paper trail, Mingo Patti. Hernandez's. Let's take a look at the paper trail. Look what it says. The email, background, the vacancy to appoint consideration a qualified individual on Monday. Stay tuned on Monday, ladies and gentlemen. On Monday, I will let you know that this individual does not belong at PUB, and he most definitely does not belong at BISD. Look at what it says. Mr. Martin Sarkis, right here in the can you see it? Mr. Martin Sarkis has expressed interest and meets all eligibility requirements to serve. Look at his comment. Look at his comment that Martin Sarkis posted on May 24th when we went live with the information that Martin Sarkis was going to get appointed to BISD. He called Frankie a liar. He said, I declined the BISD. Your information is incorrect. So who's lying here? Can y'all see this? Is this blown up? I think it is, right? You can see that. Who's lying? Is Carlos lying that Martin Sarkis didn't express interest? Or is Martin Sarkis lying that he declined the invitation? Because again, according to sources, on election day when Pedrito Cárdenas was victorious against Daisy Zamora, which was a week ago, 2 weeks ago, possibly a week, I would say a week. Martin Sarkis was telling everybody that he had the votes, that he was going to be the nominee, that he was going to get appointed, that he had the number 4 votes needed. So who's lying? And again, whenever I say a qualified individual, ladies and gentlemen, stick around for Monday's show. Monday's show is going to be... This man will never, ever be considered for any appointment, any position, ever after Monday's show. You don't believe me, huh? Have I lied to you since, Browns, who I've come on live? Never. And you know when I come... I come with receipts. I got a whole folder just of Mr. Martin Sarkis. And it's not good. And this is the individual. This is the individual that they are pushing. Martin Sarkis is a mechanic who has a high school, possibly college degree from Matamoros, the Instituto Tecnológico de Matamoros. He doesn't speak proper English. Why? And again, this man, ladies and gentlemen, is the luckiest man in the world. Why? Because he's the best thing to happen to Brownsville. Brownsville needs him. Why? Because he was appointed to PUB, one of the biggest entities here in the city of Brownsville. He was also appointed, what a coincidence, he was also nominated for BISD, the biggest entity in the city of Brownsville with a budget of 500 and we'll call it 500 million buckaroos. What are the chances that the city of Brownsville, in a population of 200 plus, that one man gets 2 nominations for 2 of the biggest entities in Brownsville? Can you believe how crazy that sounds? That man should play the lotto. He hit the jackpot. This is crazy, ladies and gentlemen. Crazy. So again, stay tuned. Right now, this is just a snippet. This is just a little probadita. On Monday, moco. So stay tuned to Good Morning Brownsville. Stay tuned to Good Morning Brownsville on Monday at 9 a.m. Don't be late. Now, again, Ruby Rose asks a question. Why does Carlos want Martin Sarkis on two boards? Martin, Minerva pushing him? Well, let's talk about that. It's very interesting. But let's you want to talk about Minerva? Let's talk about Minerva, Miss Peña. Let's talk about her. Yes, I understood. I understood, Ruby. Let's talk about it. You want to talk about Carlos and Minerva, Ruby? Let's dive into it. You're good. Are you part of my production team? Or is my production team slipping you information of what I'm going to talk about next? I'd like to take this moment to address Miss Minerva Peña directly. Miss Peña, I'm not sure if you watch the show. I believe you do. Or at the very least, your friends, they tell you. They tell you what they see on Good Morning Brownsville. Miss Peña, you need to separate yourself from Carlos Elizondo. I think you know by now that he's been lying to you. You know it. We now have shown the community, the world, the evidence of Carlos Elizondo putting Martin Sarkis on the agenda. I have been laughed at. I have been ridiculed for it. But time, Miss Peña, time has been on our side and has given us the benefit of the doubt with the community. I hope my community knows that whenever we say something, it's because we have receipts. Miss Peña, you need to separate yourself from Carlos Elizondo. I know that you were his second to place Martin Sarkis on that agenda. I know it, ma'am. And I know that you took it off. Why? Why did you take it off, ma'am? Because I think you have a heart. Because you understood that that was a bad move. You understand that the optics that had a PUB board member sit on the BISD board wasn't good. You know it was a bad move. You saw what happened. And you said, you knew it was wrong. You have to know it's wrong because you took away your second. You know it's wrong what Carlos is leading you to. Your friends that watch the program, that contact me, they're seeing what's happening. They hear the rumors. And now we gave them what they wanted. Now we gave them proof. Now we all know that this was going on behind closed doors. I asked my community, be patient. I have the receipt. I'm just waiting for it for the right time. Time has always been on our side, BISD. Ms. Peña, regardless of what happened in executive session, we know that Carlos was the one that was trying to do this all along. No matter how many times you tell people, you tell your friends, you tell your circle that it was Daniela that wanted Martin and that she wanted to do this. No matter how many times Carlos tells you that it was Daniela who wanted Martin. Now, I don't even think Daniela's doing this anymore. All along, it was Carlos Elizondo. And Ms. Peña, no matter how many times you tell the people that it was Daniela, you know you've been telling this to people. You deep in your heart, you know it's not Daniela, but that it's Carlos. And we provided the information late last night and today. The only reason, Ms. Peña, the only reason why he didn't get your continued second support for that to be placed on the agenda is because you know that Martin Sarkis is a bad person. You know that if Martin would have been placed on the agenda, that it was a problem. You knew about what happened, about that problem, that fight, that physical altercation at the hospital on the same day that you seconded. But what's interesting about this is that knowing everything that you know, that you pulled the second because of Martin's problem at the hospital when he got into a physical fight. You stood there and you were okay with Martin Sarkis in executive session behind closed doors. You know what I think it is, ma'am? I think you're confused. And that's because of your loyalty to Carlos Elizondo. You and Carlos go way back. Carlos Elizondo got in trouble for you because he stole $8,000 from the Firefighters Association to pay for your recount when you ran for Justice of the Peace. We all know that you're loyal to him. But you're confused, ma'am. You're blinded by that loyalty towards him. You need to see, Miss Peña, that the loyalty to Carlos Elizondo brings you nothing but problems, nothing but headaches. What you do need to do is you do need to deal with good people and people that you don't see eye to eye with your colleagues, with Denise, with Jessica, with Daniela. And look, they have protected the superintendent and they have caused their own problems. I'm not here to protect them, by no means. But on this issue, Miss Peña, you should come together with them and make a decision. Make a very important decision. To Ms. Daniela Lopez Valdez, my sources have always told me that Carlos is good with Lopez. They didn't say Daniela Lopez. They said Lopez. And look, maybe if I make a mistake, I'm big enough to admit if I'm wrong, that maybe it really wasn't you, Daniela. Did you meet with Martin Sarkis? I believe so. We all know. But it was your dad that wanted you to meet with him. It was your dad that was pulling the strings. It was your dad that made this deal go through. But you know what? You did the right thing. And you didn't side with Martin. If not, we'd be having a whole lot of problems. Daniela, you know that Martin Sarkis is a bad person. You need to figure out a way to come together with your friends on the school board because Carlos knows that you're divided with your friends. And when the enemy knows that it's easy to win because the other side is divided, I need you to get back with Jessica, get back with Denise. You know that Carlos Elizondo is a bad person and you can't work with him no more. He threw you under the bus. And Daniela, you're not going to get along with everybody. You're not going to agree with everybody. But if you don't come to a consensus, if you don't agree, TA will come in. And the person that they will blame for this is you, because you're the board president, because everyone knows that you were in on this, that you did something for your dad to meet Martin. Everyone believed that you made a deal. Maybe I was wrong, but perception, Ms. Daniela Lopez Valdez, perception is reality. And that deal, whether you like to admit it or not, was going to happen if it wasn't for Good Morning Brownsville. You need to come together with your team. You're blaming your team, thinking that they're trashing you. It was never them. It was never, the source is not your girls. You want bring me up? You want me to tell you who my source is, Daniela, who's been saying everything about executive session? Can you keep a secret, Ms. Daniela? I'll tell you. It was never the girls, but it was Carlos Elizondo and his big mouth. And Carlos has been manipulating people. He talks bad about Minerva. He talks bad about Frank. Says Frank that has no balls, that Minerva's dumb. And that he had you. It was never the girls who are my source of what happened in executive session. It was Carlos and his people. They can't keep their mouth shut, Daniela. And Carlos's people, they don't like him. They really don't. So guess who they fed the information to? For whatever reason, Daniela, you're not seeing this. You're not understanding this. I'm not sure why. But you, ma'am, will ultimately be the one that is blamed if TEA comes in. You need to do the right thing. You need to unify your team. You were with the girls for a long time. They will protect you. They will do what's right for you moving forward. Now, again, people have even stated that Farley Trevino deserves to be the nominee. Well, the community came out and said, no, we don't want Farley. We want Erasmo Castro. And look, Erasmo Castro, nobody gave him the benefit of the doubt. Everybody said that Farley was the favorite, that Farley was going to win. Why? Because he had Carlos, he had Minerva, he had Frank, he had AOBE, he had all the coaches. But what did the community say? The community said, we don't want Farley. He lost by 2,000 votes. Again, something very interesting as well that has been transpiring as of late. What if I told you that Farley Trevino was placed as an assistant principal at Perkins by Rose Longoria? Rosa Edith Longoria, if I'm not mistaken, is her name. And what if I told you that this appointment of Farley being the assistant principal at Perkins was done without the consideration, without the approval of the superintendent? Huh. What does that say, ladies and gentlemen? And again, I'm not going to talk about Farley and the victim and him being a student-teacher relation because everybody's saying, oh, Frankie, let the investigation go. Nobody cares about Rivera. I'm like, well, I care. But again, I'm going to give it I'm going another route. What if I told you that Rose Longoria appointed Farley Trevino as the assistant principal at Perkins without the approval of the superintendent? Why? Does she not respect the superintendent? That this is a political hire that many people would question and say, this doesn't look right. Why would Rose Longoria appoint Farley Trevino as the assistant principal? Well, maybe because that was the deal all along. Because there was an agreement that they were going to get Carlos's guy, Carlos's boy, either Martin or Farley on the board. So what happened? Rose Edith Longoria, who has a superintendent certification, license, degree, whatever you want to call it, that is active. Did she appoint Farley as the assistant principal as a favor to Carlos, as a favor to Farley, and say, hey, if you get on that board, you're going to fire the super? And who are you going to hire as a super? Maybe Rose. It's crazy, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Again, was this what happened? I can't say definitively, but good golly gee, why would an individual that is a politico that just ran for office, that applied to be on the school board, why was he appointed to be assistant principal without the approval of the super? That means that they don't respect you, Dr. Chavez. They have no regards for you. What is he going to tell me? Did you know that this was done without your approval? Is anything going to get done to Rose Longoria in regards to this, that she circumvented you and she made this hire, this political hire? I told you this was a web of corruption. I told you that the rabbit hole got deeper and deeper, but you didn't believe me. This is serious stuff. These are quid pro quos. These are backroom deals. Don't you want to know the backroom deals? That's my job, to let you know what's happening. So, who should get appointed? They went through all this fuss of applying for 20 for the next nominee, and they say no. We're gonna half a third of these people that are gonna get interviewed on Tuesday. They didn't even apply. Victor Caballero didn't apply. Martin Sarkis didn't apply. 4 random people: a doctor, a small business owner, a realtor, a lawyer, a parent, if I'm not mistaken. Why did they go through this show? Why did they go through the show of apply, apply, apply? And then a third of them didn't even apply. And Farley, he didn't even submit the proper paperwork. Ay, Diosito mi vida. If he was at the university, he'd get a D. He should get an F, but for decency, they'll give him a D on that paper that he submitted. Ay, he's a tool. He's a tool. The school board will be meeting on Tuesday to give interviews. How is that going to happen? I don't know. Martin Sarkis does not even speak. He's a mechanic, doesn't even speak proper English. Is he going to be interviewed in Spanish? The individuals who should be considered, again, we have until August, mid-August. The individuals that should be considered are the people on the 25 list. And I'm going to break it down even more for you. These are the people that should get nominated, that should be considered, heavily considered for this. Why these 3 people? Because they did the right thing. They applied when they told them to apply. They submitted their resumes. They showed English. They showed English sin barrera. But the logo, you got me. They, oh man, they showed interest. Not English sin barrera. They showed interest. They showed interest in applying and submitting their resumes and saying, I feel as if I'm a worthy candidate. These are the individuals that the school board should consider heavily. Carlos Elizondo is instructing Minerva Peña and Frank, you better not vote for any of them. You better not vote for any of them. You only vote for Martin Sarkis, Farley Treviño, or nothing. What if TEA comes? Let him come in. That's Carlos Elizondo for you. How do you feel about that? AOBE, BEST, TVEA. How do you feel about that? Teachers, counselors, nurses, paraprofessionals. How do you feel? You're going to be out of a job if TEA comes. Everything that we do, ladies and gentlemen, is all based on merit. We don't attack people. We don't bash people just to bash. That's not my role in life. My role is to hold elected leaders accountable. Why? Because us, the voters, demand transparency in every sense of the word. You want to know what happens behind closed doors? You want to hear about these meetings, these backroom deals? Follow Good Morning Brownsville, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Subscribe to our channel. That's all I ask of you, ladies and gentlemen. You want to continue to hear bangers? You want me to continue to risk my life for you? My family's kind of tripping out and they're saying, hey, you need to chill. But they know I'm so far deep in this that Franquito's not going to come back. I've made a commitment. And I'm bound by that commitment. And I will hold these elected leaders accountable one way or the other. They know that people listen by the thousands and by the thousands. Ladies and gentlemen, best believe whenever we say that we have solid leads, it's because we have people that are sick and tired of individuals such as Carlos Elizondo, who has become the next Sylvia Atkinson. We want individuals that are going to do what's in our best interest, not theirs. Today I showed you proof that Carlos Elizondo wanted to nominate a qualified individual who is a mechanic, cannot speak proper English. On Monday, he will get his own show, and I will demonstrate to you. That this man does not belong at PUB, and he most definitely does not belong at BISD. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. My name is Frankie Olivo, and this is Good Morning Brazil. Tune in to Monday. It's going to be another doozy episode. Hope you all have a great Friday and a great weekend. I hope you appreciate what the fuck I do for you, Brownsville. My name is Frankie Olivo, and this is Good Morning Brownsville. Peace! Flex on them hoes.